Poor girl brings a beggar to her ex's wedding, not knowing he's the millionaire who once loved her. Before we begin the story, comment below with the city you're watching from. Now, let the story begin. The summer heat clung to everything in downtown Boston that day cars crawled through intersections. Horns blared in frustration, and pedestrians swiped at sweat on their brows. But Emily Walsh barely noticed. She stood at the curb, clutching a simple, second-hand purse, staring at the wedding invitation she could hardly afford to respond to. Her hands trembled as she read it again. Tyler Hastings and Victoria Monroe cordially invite you. The names printed in gold stung worse than the sunlight. Tyler, her ex. The man who once swore he'd marry her. Now, he was marrying a woman from Beacon Hill. Someone who'd never known what it felt like to choose between rent and groceries. Emily wasn't going to go until this morning. Until she realized that the hurt didn't go away by hiding. She needed to walk in to run it as someone defeated, but as someone who had survived. Even if her dress was 2 seasons old, even if her shoes pinched, even if her heart still broke a little when she said his name. She took a deep breath and crossed Tremont Street. That's when she saw him. A man sitting on a tattered blanket near the old cathedral gates. His hair was long, streaked with dust and time. A beard framed his sun-weathered face. His hands, resting on his knees, were calloused and cracked. He didn't beg. He didn't even hold a sign. He just sat there. Their eyes met for a moment. Something strange flickered through her. Pity, no. Recognition. She looked away, but her feet didn't move. Instead, she turned, stepped closer. Hey, are you okay? The man blinked slowly. His voice was rough, almost unused. I'm fine. Just resting. Do you need anything? Water, food. He hesitated, then shook his head. Emily glanced back at the street where limos and luxury SUVs began to pull up. Guests were arriving in silks and tailored suits. She felt the weight of that invitation in her purse again, and something inside her shifted. I'm going to a wedding, she said suddenly, right across the street. He looked up. Good for you. She smiled awkwardly. It's complicated, but if you want, would you come with me? He frowned. You're inviting a stranger who looks like this to a wedding. Emily laughed a soft, tired sound. I guess I just don't want to walk in alone. There was a beat of silence. Then, to her surprise, he nodded. The stairs began the moment they crossed the church steps. Emily kept her chin up, even as the whispers buzzed like mosquitoes. Is she serious? Who is that man? She brought a hobo to Tyler's wedding? She could hear it all, but she kept walking. Her arm brushed the man's as they found a spot near the back pews. He stood silently beside her, watching the ornate decorations with curious eyes. He didn't speak. He didn't flinch. He just watched. Emily turned to him and whispered, You okay? He nodded. These people, they pretend a lot. She stared. You noticed that too. He smiled faintly. I used to be one of them. Before she could respond, the music swelled. Everyone rose. And there he was, Tyler, standing at the altar, looking polished, expensive, cold. His eyes swept the crowd, and then they landed on her. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. He looked from Emily to the man beside her. His jaw clenched. His gaze hardened. But he turned away just as quickly, focusing on the approaching bride. Victoria Monroe, flawless, golden-haired, born into money. She floated down the aisle like she owned the earth beneath her. Emily's chest ached. She didn't realize her hand was trembling until the man beside her gently took it. Why are you here? He asked quietly. She blinked. Because I needed to see it, to know I was never meant to be part of that world. He leaned in, voice lower now. What if you were? She turned to him sharply. What do you mean? He didn't answer. The reception was worse. Caterers weaved between crystal chandeliers, offering tiny bites on silver trays. Emily stood near the edge of the ballroom, holding a glass of lemonade, pretending not to notice the sneers. Tyler approached. Emily, he said tightly. Tyler, she replied. He glanced at her companion. You brought a date. She raised an eyebrow. Something wrong with that. Tyler laughed humorlessly. Just wasn't expecting you to show up as someone off the street. The man stepped forward then, for the first time. His posture changed, straightened. His gaze locked onto Tyler's. I've been in worse places than the street, he said. And I've known better people in shelters than in country clubs. Tyler smirked. Do you always let her speak for you? She speaks when it matters, the man said. Unlike some who only speak when they think they're better. Emily watched as Tyler stiffened, taken aback. Before he could respond, Victoria appeared beside him, all charm and arrogance. Emily, she said with false sweetness, lovely of you to come. And you are. The man looked directly at her, and something in Victoria's face changed. Froze. Her smile slipped. You, she whispered. He tilted his head. Hello, Victoria. Emily's heart pounded. Wait, you know him? She asked, looking between them. Tyler stepped in. That's impossible. The man reached into his coat, pulled out a sleek, leather wallet, opened it, and placed a card in Emily's hand. She stared at it. Liam Carter, CEO Carter Dynamics Group. Her fingers went numb. She looked up at him, stunned. I told you, he said gently. I used to be one of them. The ballroom had gone silent. Emily stood frozen, still holding Liam's business card in her hand. The words stared back at her like a confession. Liam Carter, CEO Carter Dynamics Group. The same Liam Carter whose tech empire had been all over Forbes 2 years ago. Then he'd vanished, shed no public appearances, no press. Rumors ranged from bankruptcy to a breakdown. And now, here he was, in a frayed jacket, a beard, sitting on a sidewalk just hours ago. You're the Liam Carter. Emily's voice cracked. Liam's eyes met hers, calm, measured. But something sad flickered underneath. I was, he said, still am, legally. Though I don't feel like that man anymore. Victoria Monroe's face had gone pale. Excuse me, she muttered, grabbing Tyler's arm. This is absurd. He's lying. He's just clearly unstable. Liam didn't flinch. Nice to see you again too, Victoria. Emily turned. Wait, you two? Liam gave a half smile. We were briefly engaged. Before she realized I wasn't rich enough yet. Victoria gasped. That's not true. But Tyler was already stepping back, confused. You dated him. Victoria looked around, then hissed. We should go. We have guests. But Tyler didn't move. Emily felt her breath returning in shallow waves. The room spun slower now, but every heartbeat throbbed like a drum in her ears. You said we met before, she said quietly. But I don't remember you. Liam looked at her softly. College, freshman year. Emerson. You used to read in the library window every Wednesday afternoon. You had this green coat with a broken zipper. Emily blinked. That was 15 years ago. I was invisible back then, Liam said, skinny, poor, too nervous to even say hello. But I remembered you. Always. Emily didn't know what to say. The same man she had taken pity on that morning had known her all along. And he remembered. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you, she whispered. You weren't supposed to, he replied. I didn't come to ruin anything. I just wanted to see the kind of man Tyler turned into. Tyler's face tightened. And what, you planned this? Some dramatic reveal to embarrass us. Liam shook his head. No, I didn't even plan to come inside. But when Emily asked me to come with her, I couldn't say no. Victoria scoffed. This is ridiculous. Emily turned to her, voice steady. Actually, what's ridiculous is how quickly everyone here judged him based on his clothes, his beard, the dirt on his hands. Tyler said. I didn't mean to. No, Tyler, she interrupted. You didn't care to ask. You just assumed. Like everyone else in this room. They left shortly after. Liam didn't say a word as they walked back toward the main street. The heels of Emily's shoes clicked on the pavement, echoing between parked cars and fading laughter from the venue. She finally broke the silence. You didn't have to come in, you know. You could have just said no. I could have, he said. But when you looked at me like I mattered, it was the first time in a long time I felt human again. She swallowed. Where have you been all this time? Liam paused at the curb, eyes distant. After my father died, I took over the company. Things moved fast, too fast. I was everywhere, speaks, press, meetings. Then one night, I passed out in a hotel lobby from exhaustion. Doctors said it was a breakdown. He rubbed his temple. I left, disappeared. No phone, no media. Just me. I wandered, slept in shelters, ate from food trucks. I didn't care about money. I just wanted to feel something real. Emily stared at him. And you never came back. I tried, he said, last week. Went by the old company building. They'd replaced me. My face wasn't on the wall anymore. I was no one again. Emily's chest tightened. And today, she asked, why were you near the church? Liam smiled faintly. I saw your name in the wedding announcement online. Curiosity, maybe, or unfinished business. I didn't plan anything. I just showed up. They reached Emily's apartment, a modest walk up on the edge of Dorchester. She hesitated at the stairs. I don't have much, she said. But if you need a place to rest tonight. He looked surprised. You trust me? She smiled weakly. I took a total stranger to a wedding. Might as well finish the gamble. Her apartment was small, cozy, Thoclian, with chipped furniture and a floral curtain covering a cracked window. Liam sat on the worn-out couch while Emily made tea. So, she said, handing him a mug. CEO by day, nomad by, well, most other days. He chuckled, something like that. They sat in silence, sipping tea. Then Emily asked the question that had been burning in her since the church. Why me? Liam looked at her. Why what? Why did you remember me? All these years. Why now? He set his mug down carefully. Because you were kind. Back then, you helped a classmate who dropped their books. You lent your umbrella to someone you didn't know. You smiled when no one else did. He leaned forward slightly. And today, you invited a stranger who looked like nothing to stand beside you. You didn't have to. But you did. Emily's eyes stung. I was just trying to survive. She whispered, Tyler invited me out of pity or to prove something. I just didn't want to show up alone. You didn't, he said gently. And you made me feel seen. Later, she offered him a blanket and the couch. He didn't argue. As she turned off the kitchen light, he whispered, Emily? She stopped. Yes, I'm not the man I used to be, but I'd like to be better, if that means something to you. She didn't answer, but she left the hallway light on, and for the first time in years, Liam Carter slept soundly. The morning sunlight slipped through the cracks in Emily's curtain, spilling across the small living room like a quiet promise. The apartment smelled faintly of chamomile from the night before, and the hum of traffic outside blended with the distant bark of a dog. Liam stirred on the couch. His back ached slightly from the worn cushions, but something deeper inside him felt, still, safe. He sat up slowly, folding the blanket Emily had given him, and glanced toward the kitchen. The kettle was already whizzing. Emily stood barefoot, wrapped in a gray hoodie and pajama pants, her hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked up and offered a soft smile. Sleep okay? Liam rubbed his eyes. Better than I have in years. She poured 2 mugs of coffee, no sugar, just milk, then slid one across the counter. You weren't lying, she said. You really are him. He nodded. I googled you last night, she admitted, after you fell asleep. Saw your photo on a Forbes cover. You looked different. Skinnier, he joked. Lonelier, she replied. He paused, mug halfway to his lips. The word lingered between them, heavier than steam. I was, he said finally. I still am, sometimes. Emily leaned on the counter. Why didn't you reach out to anyone? Friends? Business partners? They weren't friends, he said simply. They were board members, investors, shareholders. They cared about the next quarter, not my mental health. She nodded slowly. I'm sorry, she said. He looked up. You don't owe me that. I know, she said, but I still am. Later that day, Liam helped her with the dishes. It felt absurd. In a strange way, a man who once negotiated billion-dollar contracts now drying ceramic plates in a $700 a month apartment. But he liked it. It made sense. It felt real. When the knock came on the door, they both froze. Emily wiped her hands. "I'll get it." She opened the door to find a man in a dark suit, sunglasses perched on his nose despite the hallway shadows. "Emily Walsh?" he asked. Her stomach turned. "Yes." The man handed her an envelope. "For Mr. Liam Carter. We were told he was here." Before she could respond, the man turned and disappeared down the stairs. Emily shut the door slowly, the envelope trembling in her hand. Liam stepped forward, took one look at the seal, and sighed. "What is it?" she asked. "The board," he muttered. "They know I'm alive." He opened it carefully. Inside was a formal notice he had summons for a meeting at Carter Dynamics. The subject, reinstatement discussion. Emily looked at him. "Are you going?" He didn't answer right away. "I don't know," he said. "I'm not sure I belong there anymore." "You built it," she said, "with your own hands." "I built it," he agreed. "But I lost myself in the process." The next few days were quiet. Liam stayed. Emily didn't ask when he'd leave, and he didn't offer. They settled into an unspoken rhythm: grocery runs, shared dinners, long walks after sundown. One evening, while walking near the Charles River, Liam stopped by a park bench. Children ran nearby, their laughter slicing through the dusk. "You ever think about what your life would have been if just one thing had changed?" he asked. Emily sat beside him. "All the time." He smiled. "When I left the company, I didn't miss the meetings or the headlines. I missed conversations. I missed honesty." She looked at him. "You're not invisible anymore, Liam." He turned to her. "Neither are you." But the world didn't forget so easily. By the end of the week, rumors had begun to spread. A blurry photo of Liam at the wedding had gone viral. Samin had snapped it at the reception and posted it with the caption, "Is this Liam Carter? Alive? Homeless?" By morning, tabloids had picked it up. Billionaire CEO found living on the streets. Liam Carter resurfaces in Boston, but why? Emily's phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters called. Emails flooded in. People knocked at the door. Liam sat in silence, reading the headlines. "You need to leave," Emily said gently. "You need to face this." "I will," he said, "but not today." "Why not?" He looked at her. "Because today, I'm not ready to lose this." She blinked. "This?" He gestured around her small kitchen, the tea towels, the crooked calendar, the chipped coffee mug. "You," he said. "This." That night, Emily woke up to find the couch empty. She panicked for a moment, heart pounding, before seeing the balcony door slightly open. Liam stood outside, arms folded, staring at the sky. She stepped out, rubbing her arms against the chill. "Can't sleep." He shook his head. "Too loud up here." "In your head." He nodded. She stood beside him, both looking out at the city lights. "Do you want to go back?" she asked. Liam exhaled. "I want to make things right, but I'm not sure the man they want back exists anymore." "They don't get to decide that," Emily said. "You do." He turned to her, and for the first time, his hand reached out, tentative, hopeful. She took it. The next morning, Liam stood in front of a mirror for the first time in weeks. He trimmed the beard, washed the dust out of his hair. Emily had laid out a clean shirt she'd found in a thrift store down the street. It wasn't tailored, and the collar sagged slightly, but somehow it fit better than any suit he'd ever worn. Downstairs, she was waiting with 2 cups of coffee. "You sure about this?" she asked. Liam took the cup, nodded. "If I don't go now, I'll regret it." She walked him to the door. "Liam," she said, voice quiet, "they don't define you. Not anymore." He smiled. "You do." She didn't know what to say to that, so she didn't. Carter Dynamics looked exactly the same. Glass walls, cold marble floors, buzzing key cards. But when Liam walked through the front door, the receptionist didn't recognize him, not until he said his name. And then everything stopped. Whispers, movement, eyes. Is that really? No way. Someone call the board now. By the time he reached the executive floor, the room had already filled. Half a dozen board members stood behind a long conference table, guarded, but clearly nervous. Mr. Carter, one of them began. We weren't sure if you'd. I'm not here to reclaim the title, Liam interrupted. I'm here to tell you I never stopped caring about this place. I built this company with more than money. I built it with purpose. You disappeared, another member said, carefully. Without warning, investors panicked. We had to stabilize. I know, Liam said, and I don't blame you. But ask yourself something: has this place felt the same since I left? Silence. He let it linger. I don't want my office back, he said. I just want to make sure the heart of what we built isn't gone. A moment passed. Then one of the older members, Randall, the only one who had ever truly listened to him, stood up. Your father would be proud you came back, she said. Liam didn't flinch. I'm not here for him, he replied softly. I'm here because someone reminded me I still mattered. Back at the apartment, Emily was on her hands and knees scrubbing under the stove. Not because it needed it, but because she needed to do something, anything, keep herself from checking her phone every 5 seconds. Finally, a text buzzed. From Liam. Meeting done. Coming back. Will explain. Her chest loosened. A few minutes later, the door opened and there he was. Different, taller, somehow lighter. Well, she asked. He took a breath. I told them I wasn't coming back to rule, just to guide, if they'd have me. And they agreed as an advisor. No press, no drama. Emily stared. You actually said no to power. I said yes to peace, he corrected. She smiled. But then another knock on the door. Not a delivery, not a stranger. It was Tyler, holding flowers. Liam froze. Emily blinked. Tyler, can we talk? Tyler asked. Just us. Liam looked at her. She nodded. It's okay. Liam stepped aside without a word. On the porch, Tyler looked like a man who didn't know what he wanted to say. He held the flowers awkwardly, eyes darting toward the street. I saw the video, he said. What video? From the wedding. Someone caught it on TikTok. You and Liam. It's everywhere now. Emily's stomach dropped. Great. Tyler stepped closer. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I was trying to prove something to Victoria, to myself. But it was wrong. She folded her arms. Why are you here? He hesitated. Because seeing you with him, it made me realize I still care. Emily went quiet. Tyler continued. I know I made mistakes, but people change. So do priorities, she said. He stepped closer. Just think about it. She took the flowers, not as acceptance but as a closure. I have thought about it, she said. A lot. And I'm not the same girl who used to cry when you left. Inside, Liam sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling. When Emily walked in, she didn't say anything. She just placed the flowers on the table, then sat beside him. He said he still cares, she muttered. And you? Liam asked. She turned to him. I care too, just not about him. He looked at her, and for a moment, the silence between them said everything that words couldn't. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, watching the streetlights flicker on the sidewalk below. Liam joined her, barefoot and quiet. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. What happens now? He exhaled slowly. We figure it out, together, day by day. She looked at him, tired but hopeful. I don't want to be rescued, she whispered. I know, he said. I just want to walk beside you. And in that moment, no wedding, no company, no past heartbreaks were simply to people beginning again. The following morning, Emily stepped out of her apartment and nearly tripped over a camera lens. Miss Walsh, just a moment, what's your relationship with Liam Carter? Is it true you were dating him before he vanished? Was the wedding scene a publicity stunt? Flashbulbs snapped. Voices overlapped. Emily's vision blurred as she tried to push past the frenzy. Someone shoved a microphone inches from her mouth. Her chest tightened. Back off. Liam's voice cut through like a blade. He stepped between her and the reporters, shielding her with his body. "This is private property," he said, calm but firm. "Leave, now." The crowd hesitated, then scattered, cameras still clicking as they retreated to the sidewalk. Emily's hands were shaking. Liam turned to her, voice gentler now. "I'm sorry. I should have seen this coming." She looked at him, heart pounding. "I can't live like this, Liam. I know. I didn't sign up for the spotlight. I didn't sign up to be in anyone's story but my own." He didn't argue, didn't plead, just nodded, and that scared her more than anything. Inside, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. Notifications poured in, calls from unknown numbers, interview requests, even a tabloid article calling her Cinderella in sweatpants. It would have been funny if it wasn't so real. Liam brought her tea, but she didn't take it. "Maybe you should go," she whispered. He froze. "Not forever," she added quickly. "Just let things cool down. I need air, Liam. I need to think." He nodded slowly. "I understand. I don't want you to think I'm pushing you away," she said, eyes glassy. "I just need to breathe without the cameras. I'll check into a hotel," he said. "One the press doesn't know yet." He reached for her hand. "I'll give you space, but I won't disappear again. Not unless you ask me to." Her fingers tightened around his. "I'm not asking for that," she said. "I'm just asking for Tom." That night, Emily lay awake, the silence of the apartment louder than any crowd. She missed the sound of Liam in the kitchen, missed the soft way he asked if she wanted tea, even if she always said yes. But she needed to find her footing outside of him, because loving someone wasn't just about feeling safe. It was about choosing them when things got hard. Meanwhile, Liam checked into a quiet inn on the edge of the city. No press, no eyes, just Tom. He turned off his phone, sat by the window, and remembered the green coat with the broken zipper. He remembered the way Emily smiled when she read sad books, how she always finished her coffee too fast and regretted it. He missed her already, but he had to let her choose. The next morning, Emily stepped out of her building against Tom, with sunglasses and her shoulders squared. The press had dwindled, distracted by newer scandals. She walked to the corner cafe, ordered a coffee, and sat alone. It felt strange, quite. Then a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Still drinking black?" She turned. "Tyler, mind if I sit?" he asked. She gestured to the empty chair. "It's a free country." He sat, watching her carefully. "I came to say goodbye." She looked up. "Goodbye. I'm transferring to New York, Victoria, and it didn't work." Emily didn't ask for details. "I realized something," he said. "All the years we were together, I never really saw you." She didn't respond. "I just wanted you to know," he added. "You were always better than the way I treated you." Emily looked at him. "You were my past," she said gently. "But I don't live there anymore." He nodded. "And that was it? Closure." Days passed. Emily didn't hear from Liam, not because he didn't care, but because he respected her silence. She could feel it in every quiet moment, in every missed call she didn't return. Then one afternoon, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a simple brown notebook. She opened it. On the first page, "For Emily, if you still want to build something real." The rest was blank, except for the last page, where he'd written, "Your story matters. If you'll let me, I'd like to be part of it." She sat for a long time, holding the notebook. Then she picked up her phone. 30 minutes later, Liam answered the knock at his hotel door. She stood there, wind in her hair, the notebook clutched to her chest. "You forgot to sign it," she said. He blinked. "What?" "The notebook," she replied. "You said you wanted to be part of my story, but you forgot to leave your name." He stared at her, then smiled, slow and quiet. "I thought you needed Tom." "I did," she said. "But time without you didn't feel like breathing. It felt like holding my breath." He stepped back. She stepped in. That night, they sat on the hotel balcony, the city lights blinking below. No cameras, no questions, no pressure. Just 2 mugs of tea, 2 chairs, and a notebook half full, half waiting. Liam drove them out of Boston just after sunrise. Emily sat in the passenger seat, watching the city shrink behind them through the rearview mirror. The highway unspooled ahead, soft and golden under the morning light. She didn't ask where they were going. He hadn't told her, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't need answers. She trusted the silence between them. Liam's hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white not from tension, but from something quieter. Reverence, maybe. He hadn't taken this road in years. Not since everything broke. After nearly 2 hours and 3 songs on repeat, he turned off the main highway onto a narrow dirt road lined with pine trees and memory. Emily finally asked, "Where are we?" He glanced at her. Somewhere that used to be home. The house was small, white, with peeling paint and a sagging porch. It stood alone at the edge of a clearing, surrounded by overgrown grass and wildflowers. A rusted swing set leaned in the backyard like a forgotten promise. Emily stepped out of the car, blinking at the sudden quiet. "This was your home?" Liam nodded. "My father built it when I was 6. Said it wasn't perfect, but it would last." She followed him to the porch, where the wood creaked beneath their feet. "He died here," Liam said softly, pushing open the door. "Heart failure, quick. I was at a board meeting when it happened. Took me 3 days to come back." The house smelled of dust and time. Photographs still hung on the walls. Liam as a boy, arms around a man with tired eyes and a proud smile. A woman long gone. A dog neither of them mentioned. Emily wandered to the fireplace mantel, where a stack of unopened letters sat, brittle with age. "He used to write me," Liam said, even when I stopped answering. She picked up one, fingers trembling. "You never read them?" He shook his head. "I couldn't. I told myself I was too busy." But the truth was, I didn't want to hear what he had to say. Emily turned to him. "Why bring me here now?" Liam's voice cracked. "Because I wanted you to see who I was before the headlines, before the suits, before the fall." She walked to him, gently placing the letter back on the mantel. "I don't care who you were," she said. "I care who you choose to be." He looked at her, eyes glassy. "I want to be someone worthy of you." "You already are," she whispered. They spent the rest of the day cleaning. Emily tied her hair up with an old shoelace and swept years of dust from the wooden floor. Liam found a box of his childhood books and quietly tucked them into the back seat of the car. There was no electricity, no running water. But when the sun began to set, they sat on the porch, sharing a granola bar and passing a bottle of water between them like kids at camp. The sky turned orange, then violet, then dark, and for the first time, Liam let go of the guilt. "I always thought I had to prove something," he said, "to my father, to the world. That I wasn't weak." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. "You're not weak, you're human." He closed his eyes. "I never told anyone this," he said. "But the day I walked away from the company, I wasn't sure I wanted to live." She went still beside him. "I was standing on a rooftop in San Francisco. I wasn't going to jump, but I wasn't going to move either. Just wait for the wind to decide." Emily's breath caught. "What stopped you?" He turned to her. "I remembered you." She blinked. "From college," he said. "That green coat, that smile, the way you made people feel seen. I thought, if someone like that exists in the world, maybe it's worth staying." Tears filled her eyes. "You saved me without even knowing," he said. She wrapped her arms around him, and he didn't resist. He held her like an anchor, like a lifeline, like someone who finally understood what it meant to be home. That night, they slept in sleeping bags on the living room floor. No phones, no noise, just the hum of crickets and the sound of two hearts slowly healing. In the morning, Liam stood on the porch with a piece of scrap paper he found in the kitchen drawer. He wrote a note, folded it once, and tucked it behind an old photo frame of his father. Emily joined him a moment later. "What did you write?" He smiled. "Nothing profound. Just, I'm okay now." She kissed his cheek. That's more than enough. On the drive back to Boston, they didn't say much, but Liam reached over and took her hand in this time. She didn't let go. Not once. Back in the city, life had moved on. The press had shifted focus. The world had already started its next scandal. But something between them had changed, deepened. That night, as they unpacked the car, Emily pulled out the box of books Liam had brought from the old house. Most of these are tech manuals, she teased. I was a very boring child, he grinned. Then she found an old, leather-bound journal wrapped in twine. What's this? He looked at it, and something in his face shifted. I forgot I had that, he said. It's kind of embarrassing. Emily flipped it open. Page after page of sketches, ideas, lists, app names, prototype logos, and then a single page titled, If I Ever Build Something That Matters. Below it, a bullet-pointed list. Make it human. Make it useful. Make sure it never forgets where it came from. She closed the book, clutching it to her chest. Liam, she said softly, you didn't forget. You just got lost for a while. He looked at her, and you helped me find my way back. It had been nearly a week since they returned from the old house. Boston had cooled slightly. Early fall painted the sidewalks with amber leaves, and the air smelled faintly of cinnamon from nearby cafes. Emily moved through the city like someone carrying a secret quieter, more focused. But Liam could sense something had shifted inside her. She smiled, yes, laughed, often, but sometimes, when the room went still, her eyes drifted to know her like they were searching for something she couldn't name. That morning, she sat by the window of their favorite cafe, stirring her coffee long after the cream had vanished. Liam watched her. You've been somewhere else lately, he said gently. She blinked back. Sorry, I was just thinking. About. She hesitated. Do you remember the first day we talked? Really talked? At the wedding? She shook her head. Before that, the library, freshman year. He smiled faintly. Of course. I lied, she said. His brow furrowed. About what? I did see you. Back then. I noticed you long before you noticed me. Liam leaned in, curious. Why didn't you say anything? Emily looked down at her coffee. Because I was too busy hiding. He didn't speak. She took a shaky breath. You've shown me your past, Liam. But I never showed you mine. He waited. Then she said it. My mom died when I was 13. He softens Emily. My dad was gone long before that. Not dead. Just never stayed. After she passed, I bounced between relatives, aunts, uncles, foster homes. She forced a smile. By the time I got to college, I didn't believe in belonging. I live off scholarships and night shifts. I ate ramen 6 nights a week. I didn't go to parties. I didn't make friends. She looked at him. I was invisible too. Liam reached across the table, covering her hand with his. You were never invisible to me. She swallowed. I used to sit in the library window and imagine someone was watching. Not in a creepy way, just someone who'd see me, who'd remember. I did, he whispered. She nodded. I know that now. Later that evening, they walked through a small art exhibit tucked inside a quiet alleyway in South End. Local artists, mostly student work. One painting stopped Emily in her tracks. It was a portrait, true, abstract but unmistakably familiar. A girl, hunched over a notebook, green coat, frayed sleeve, light pulling through a library window. Liam tilted his head. Is that you? She nodded slowly. Someone painted me. He read the plaque. Untitled, based on a girl I saw every Wednesday. Emerson College Library, 2009. Emily's breath caught. Liam stared. Someone else saw you, too. She turned to him, tears quietly slipping down her cheeks. I'm tired of carrying it all alone, she whispered. You don't have to, he said. Not anymore. That night, back at the apartment, Emily pulled out a showbox from under her bed. Inside were old photos, scraps of letters, even a faded birth certificate. Liam sat beside her as she unfolded her past, one artifact at a time. This, she said, holding up a worn-out receipt, was from the diner where I worked junior year. I once cried in the walk-in freezer for an hour after dropping a tray of pies. Liam smiled softly. You've come far. This, she said, showing him a frayed bracelet, was from my foster sister. She ran away 2 weeks after giving me this. I never saw her again. His face tightened. Emily placed it gently in his palm. I've carried so much for so long. But I think maybe it's okay to let someone carry some of it with me. He closed his hand around the bracelet. I will, he said, every piece. Days later, Liam surprised her. He took her to an empty storefront in Dorchester. Windows dusty, sign faded. But the space inside was open, warm, waiting. I bought it, he said simply. Emily blinked. What for? You, he said. Us. Whatever we want to build. She turned in a slow circle, imagining bookshelves, cozy chairs, a cafe counter. Light through big windows. Community. Healing. A bookstore, she asked. He smiled. With tea. And workshops, she added. And a writing circle. And free coffee on Sundays. She laughed. You're serious? He nodded. I want to create something that feels like home for others. Like you did for me. She stepped into his arms. I'm on, she said. Later that week, they began cleaning the space. Emily painted the walls by hand. Liam fixed the wiring with the help of a retired electrician who used to work with his father. Friends pitched in, neighbors dropped by with baked goods. They named it the window seat, in honor of a green coat and a quiet girl who once believed no one saw her. On opening day, the cafe was full. Children scribbled in coloring corners. Students sipped tea while reading dog-eared novels. A woman played acoustic guitar in the back. Emily stood behind the counter, apron tied loosely, and scanned the room. Joy swelled in her chest like light through stained glass. Liam stepped beside her. You okay? He asked. She turned to him. I've never been better. And just as she said it, someone walked through the door. Older man, weathered coat, familiar eyes. Emily's breath caught. She stepped around the counter. Uncle Bill, she whispered. He nodded. Heard about this place. Thought I'd stop by. Tears welled instantly. They hadn't spoken in over a decade. She hugged him, and for a moment, it was like every broken thread in her life began to weave back together. That night, as they locked up, Liam handed her a slip of paper. On it was a single sentence. What if you weren't just someone's hope, but someone's home? Emily looked at him. I already am, she whispered, and kissed him under the lamplight while the world turned soft and slow outside their window. 3 months passed. The window seat had become more than a bookstore. Cafe was a haven. Seniors came to play chess in the corner every Thursday morning. A local poet led free writing workshops on Saturdays. Struggling teens dropped by after school, pretending to study, but really just needing a place where no one asked questions. Emily's world had grown wide and warm, and Liam, he was the constant. He stocked shelves, brewed tea, wiped tables, never once using his name to open doors, never once hiding who he'd been. Every now and then, someone recognized him, an old investor, a curious journalist, but Liam would simply smile and say, I'm where I'm supposed to be now. They had built something real, and that, they thought, would be enough. But good things have a way of being tested. One cold morning, Emily found an envelope slipped under the cafe door. No return address, just a logo, cold, sharp, corporate. Inside, a formal notice. Intent to purchase property. Final opportunity to sell. Eminent domain proceedings to follow. Emily stared at the words. Liam read over her shoulder, silent. I don't understand, she said. We signed a 5-year lease. There's a loophole, he muttered, scanning the fine print. They're filing under redevelopment zoning. The city wants to clear the block for new luxury condos. Her heart dropped. They can just take it? He nodded grimly. Unless we fight it, publicly. Emily sat down, knees weak. We can't afford lawyers like they can. No, he said. But I know how they think, and they've underestimated something. What? You? By afternoon, they'd called a meeting. Volunteers, customers, neighbors, friends. They filled the cafe chairs, the window sills, even the floor. Liam stood in front, a whiteboard behind him. Emily clutched a folder of documents in her lap. "This isn't just about us," Liam said. "It's about what this place means to everyone here." An older woman raised her hand. "They tried to buy my building last year, promised to revitalize the block, ended up evicting half my neighbors." A student chimed in. "The window seat is the only place I feel safe after school. If they take this, they take that too." Emily stood, voice steady but tight. "They think we're small, replaceable, but we're not." Someone clapped, then another, until the room shook with a roar of agreement. They didn't have lawyers, but they had people. The next few days became a whirlwind. Liam worked the phones, pulling every old contact who still owed him a favor. Emily coordinated volunteers, started a petition, launched a social media campaign under the hashtag #SaveTheWindowSeat. Stories poured in, testimonials from strangers, photos of first dates held in the cafe, poems written in its corners, even a video of a young boy reading his first full sentence aloud inside its walls. The post went viral. Local news picked it up, then national. One morning, Emily turned on the TV to see herself on the screen. A small cafe fighting against corporate buyout, fueled by love, literature, and one unexpected twist. Its co-owner is former tech CEO Liam Carter. She turned to Liam, wide-eyed. He just shrugged. Couldn't stay invisible forever. But with the exposure came pressure. Threats. A city rep called, suggesting they quietly relocate before things got messy. Anonymous letters arrived sell before it's too late. And one night, they found graffiti on the cafe door. "Money always wins." Emily stared at the red paint. Liam stood beside her, jaw clenched, but neither said a word. They just cleaned it together. 1 week before the city's final vote, they held a candlelight event at the cafe. No speeches, just music, readings, and tea. Emily stood in the back, watching as people spilled onto the sidewalk, holding candles and paper cups. Children giggled, couples leaned close, strangers shared blankets. Liam found her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, then paused. "Not really." He waited. "I thought we finally had a life," she whispered, "one that couldn't be taken." He touched her hand. "We do. It's not the building. It's what we build in each other." She leaned into him. "If we lose this," she said, "what happens next?" "We start again," he said, "just like we always have." The day of the vote arrived. Emily wore the same green scarf she'd kept since college had one with a frayed end. Liam wore no tie, no jacket, just himself. The hearing room was packed. A city official read through the motions, then asked, "Does anyone wish to speak in opposition?" Emily stood. Her voice didn't shake. "This cafe isn't just a business," she said. "It's a lifeline, a sanctuary, a second chance for a lot of us." She looked at the board. "At 17, I was homeless. At 20, I was alone. This Placetha's dream had saved me, and it's saving people every day." Silence. Then the chairperson nodded. "Thank you, Miss Walsh." They took a recess. The vote came an hour later, and when it did, they won. By one vote. Back at the window seat, the lights were dim, but the celebration roared. Neighbors brought casseroles. Musicians played guitars. A kid set off confetti from a dollar store popper. Emily sat beside Liam on the couch by the window. "You saved it," she whispered. He shook his head. "You did." She looked around, then back at him. "No," she said, "we did." Later that night, Liam placed a new sign on the door. "Not for sale, ever." And below it, in Emily's handwriting, "Where stories begin, where no one ends alone." Autumn deepened. Golden leaves collected along the sidewalk outside the window seat, and the scent of pumpkin spice drifted through the cafe, mixing with cinnamon rolls and fresh coffee. Inside, the shop felt like a postcard, warm, full, alive. Emily moved behind the counter, laughing with a teenage boy who had just aced his reading comprehension test. Across the room, Liam refilled mugs and wiped tables, sleeves rolled up, a soft smile on his face. He looked like a man who had never been anyone else. But something was coming, a tremor in the quiet, and it began with a phone call. The number was unfamiliar. Emily almost ignored it, but something in her gut told her to answer. Hello. The voice on the other end was cautious, female, nervous. Is this Emily Walsh? Yes. Who's calling? A pause. My name is Angela Hayes. I work at Crestwood Family Records in Ohio. We recently found a box in our archives labeled for you. Emily's breath hitched. A box? Yes, the woman said. It's part of a closed adoption file. The state recently digitized old casework, and yours came up. Normally, we wouldn't reach out, but this file had a release flag attached. Apparently, your biological mother left instructions to contact you. Emily sat down slowly. Don't understand. My mother died when I was 13. Another pause. Ma'am, Angela said gently. The woman listed in your records as your mother was your foster parent, not your birth mother. Your biological mother is still alive. The world blurred. I don't think there has to be a mistake. I can send the documents, Angela said. But the note she left was clear. If you'd like to meet her, she's asking to see you. Emily didn't respond. She couldn't. That night, she told Liam. They sat at the edge of the bed, the lights off, the moonlight pouring through the window. She's alive, Emily whispered, as if saying it aloud would break something sacred. All this time, and no one told me. Liam reached for her hand, but she didn't move. I grieved her, she said. I cried every night for a woman who didn't just disappeared. She might have had reasons, Liam said gently. That's what I'm afraid of, Emily whispered. What if her reasons make me hate her? Liam didn't answer. Some truths had no easy comfort. A week later, Emily boarded a train to Ohio. Liam offered to come, but she said no. She needed to do this alone, to face the shadow of a life she never lived. The ride was long, the sky gray. She clutched the letter Angela had sent, one with her biological mother's handwriting. It was dated just 6 months ago. Dear Emily, not a day has passed that I didn't think of you. If you're reading this, then I've finally done what I should have done years ago. Told the truth. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't believe I deserved to. Please come find me. I'll be waiting. No full name, no apology, just longing etched in pen. Crestwood was a small town. One gas station, one diner. Trees lined the streets like sentries. Angela met Emily at the train station and led her to a modest nursing home tucked behind a church. She's in hospice, Angela said softly. Lung condition. Not much time left. Emily felt her legs wobble. I'll wait outside, Angela added, handing her a clipboard. She doesn't know exactly when you'd arrive, but she's asked every day. Emily walked down the hall like someone entering another life. At the last door, she knocked. A frail voice called out, "Come in." And there she was, older than Emily expected, wrinkled, pale. But those eyes, they were hers. The woman looked up and smiled. Emily, stop. You know my name. I named you. The woman whispered. They changed it when they took you, but I always called you Emily. It was my grandmother's. Tears sprang to Emily's eyes. I thought you were dead, she said. I was, the woman replied, in every way that mattered. Emily sat slowly. I need answers, she said. You deserve them, her mother replied. But first, I need to say something. She reached for Emily's hand gently, like one might approach a wild animal. I'm sorry. I don't understand, Emily said. Why did you give me up? I was 17, her mother said. No money, no home. Your father left 2 weeks after I told him. I tried to raise you on my own, but I was sick, postpartum, depression. I left you with a neighbor for a day and never went back. Emily stared at her. I was ashamed, the woman said. Every time I tried to return, I convinced myself you were better off in a real home with real love. Emily's voice cracked. I wasn't. Tears ran freely down the woman's cheeks. I know. I went through hell, Emily whispered. I was bounced around, lied to, alone. I thought I was protecting you, her mother said. You were protecting yourself. Silence. And Emily reached for her hand. I don't forgive you, she said. Not yet. I don't expect you to. But I came, Emily whispered. That's something. Her mother closed her eyes, relief washing over her like mercy. It's everything. Emily stayed 3 days. She asked questions, heard stories, saw photos of grandparents she never knew, letters never sent, birthday cards returned. It didn't fix everything, but it stitched the first thread. When she boarded the train back to Boston, her heart felt heavier but not broken. Liam was waiting at the platform. She stepped into his arms without a word. Later, at home, he brewed tea while she unpacked. He placed a mug in front of her. Did she love you? He asked softly. Emily looked at him. She does, she said, in the only way she ever knew how. He nodded. You did something brave, he added. So did she, Emily said. She gave me up to survive, and I came back to live. Liam touched her hand. I'm proud of you. She looked up, teary-eyed, and I'm finally proud of me, too. Winter crept into Boston on quiet feet. Snow gathered on window sills. The streets wore coats of frost. Inside the window seat, the fire crackled in the hearth Liam had personally built from salvage brick. Customers leaned close over mugs of cider and peppermint tea. Emily stood behind the counter. A knit beanie tugged over her curls, cheeks flushed from the cold. She looked happy, solid. But Liam, he was distracted. She noticed it the third time. He overfilled a cup. Earth to Liam, she teased. He blinked, refocused. Sorry, just tired. But it wasn't that. It hadn't been for days. That night, after closing, Emily found him in the office staring at his laptop. A document open, but unread. What's going on? She asked, leaning against the doorframe. Liam hesitated, then turned the screen toward her. It was an email from Mark Rosen, a former colleague, CEO of a massive AI firm in San Francisco, one of the few people in tech who still sent Christmas cards. Subject line, come build with us. Emily read the message. Liam, we're launching something huge, international, multi-sector, humanitarian applications. It's not just about tech. It's about real-world change. We want you as co-founder, full control, no suits, just vision. Think about it, Em. She looked at Liam, stunned. This is massive. He nodded. And you're actually considering it? He met her gaze. Wouldn't you? She opened her mouth, then closed it, because part of her wanted to say no. But another part that loved him understood exactly why he was hesitating. This wasn't about leaving. It was about purpose. For days, they danced around it. Liam worked as usual, brewed coffee, stocked shelves, helped with the Christmas fundraiser. But Emily felt the weight behind every smile, every silence. Late one evening, she found him on the cafe's rooftop, hands in his pockets, watching snow fall onto the city skyline. They offered a stake, he said quietly. Equity, influence, impact. She joined him. What's stopping you? He looked at her. This. She waited. This place. This life. You. He took a deep breath. I've had power. I've had money. But peace that only came with you. She swallowed. Then why does it feel like you're already halfway gone? He looked down. Because part of me misses the fire. She nodded slowly. I get it. Silence stretched between them. Then she said, if you're going to do this, you can't do it halfway. He turned to her. What are you saying? I'm saying, if you're going to go, then go all in. I won't hold you back. His face twisted. I don't want to leave you, but you do, she said gently. You want this, and pretending you don't will only rot what we built. Liam stepped closer. I love you. I know, she whispered. That's why I'm letting you go. A week later, he left. He didn't pack much, just a small suitcase, his journal, and the leather bracelet Emily had given him from her foster past. At the station, she kissed him hard, fierce, final, then turned and walked away before he could see her cry. Life resumed. Emily ran the window seat, She launched a community writing program, opened a second room for literacy tutoring. Her name showed up in a local paper under the headline, "The Woman Who Turned Pages into Safe Places." But at night, she missed him. His terrible singing in the shower. The way he always made tea to strong. The way he looked at her like she was the only story that ever mattered. She didn't reach out. Neither did he. They had made a clean break, but love doesn't listen to goodbyes. One night, 2 months after Liam left, Emily was locking up when a man stepped into the cafe just before she flipped the sign. Older, business suit, tired eyes. "You're Emily Walsh." She nodded. He extended a hand. "I'm Paul Whitman. I work with Liam." Her heart jumped. "He talks about you," the man said, "constantly. Won't shut up, actually." She smiled, despite herself. "He's in Tokyo right now. Big meetings. But he asked me to deliver this." Paul reached into his coat and pulled out a small envelope sealed with wax, Liam's initials. Emily opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, a plane ticket, Boston to San Francisco, one way, and a single note. "Come see what we're building. Bring your stories. We're ready to change the world." She stared at it. Paul spoke again. "He's built something incredible. But there's a room he hasn't opened. Not until you walk through it." She looked up, and for the first time in weeks hope surged in her chest like spring. That night, she sat alone in the window seat, ticket in hand, heart on the edge. Then, she picked up the closed sign from the door and flipped it over. It didn't say closed anymore. It said, "On a journey, back soon." Until then read bravely, "Love louder." San Francisco hit her like a memory she'd never lived. Skyscrapers draped in morning fog. Hills that rolled like questions she wasn't ready to answer. And a skyline so sharp it seemed to slice through the sky. Emily stepped off the plane with one carry-on and a heart split down the middle. She hadn't told anyone she was coming, not even Liam. But his invitation had burned in her pocket for weeks, calling her, daring her. At baggage claim, a driver held a sign, "E. Walsh." She nodded, followed him in silence to a sleek black SUV. The ride through the city felt surreal. She passed through tech campuses, co-working spaces, colorful murals, street vendors, collision of dreams and data. Then the car pulled up to a building with mirrored glass and ivy climbing its sides, clean, bold, modern, and at the top, engraved in bronze, "Nova." She stepped out. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the door. Inside, it was silent. Minimalist furniture, clean lines, a scent like citrus and cedar. The receptionist looked up. "Miss Walsh." Emily nodded. "He's been expecting you. Top floor. Elevator ride, 63 floors." Ascent, both literal and emotional. When the doors opened, she saw him back to the window, hands in his pockets, framed by the city behind him. "Liam." She didn't say his name. She didn't need to. He turned, and for a moment, the whole world paused. He looked older, not by years, but by layers, new weight in his eyes, new light too. "You came," he said softly. She stepped forward. "I wasn't sure until I was already in the air." He smiled. "That sounds like you." He showed her around. Nova wasn't just a company, it was a revolution. A tech initiative focused on literacy, global education, real-time translation, refugee communication platforms, devices powered by solar, distributed in over 22 countries already. "This isn't about profit," Liam explained. "It's about reach, giving people a voice." Emily walked through glass corridors, past engineers coding beside artists sketching UI prototypes, past rooms with chalkboard walls covered in equations and childlike drawings. He stopped at a door labeled "Library." Inside, a quiet room, floor-to-ceiling shelves, beanbags, journals, a tea cart. She blinked. "This looks like the window seat," he finished. "I wanted a piece of it here," he said. "You helped me understand what access means. Not just information, but safety." She ran a hand along a shelf, then turned to him. "So why ask me here now?" He met her eyes. "Because I can't do this without you." That night, he took her to a small rooftop garden above the building. Windy, cold, but the view was breathtaking. They sipped tea in silence for a while. Then she said, "You built an empire." "I built a bridge," he corrected, "but I never crossed it." She looked at him. "What do you mean?" "I've created something good here. Important, but it still doesn't feel alive." She tilted her head. "Why not?" "Because the person who taught me how to build things that feel didn't come with me." Silence. Then she asked, "So what now?" "I want you here," he said. "Not just visiting, not just watching. I want you as a partner." "In the company?" "In everything." Her breath caught. "I don't want to lose what we had," he added. "But we already did," she whispered. "You left. I needed to remember who I was outside of you," he said. "But I never stopped choosing you." She looked down. "I'm scared," she admitted. "This playsite's not home." "It wasn't to me either," he said, "until today." The next morning, she returned to Nova. Alone this time. She walked through the building, speaking to people, asking questions, listening to their missions, their hopes. She took notes, drank tea, read proposals. By afternoon, she found herself back in the library room. At the far end sat a girl maybe 10 years old, her feet dangling off a bench. Her mother was an engineer working late, and she'd been given a book and a cocoa. Emily sat beside her. "What are you reading?" The girl held up a children's noveloni Emily loved as a child. "You like stories?" Emily asked. The girl nodded. "They make me feel like I belong somewhere." Emily blinked back tears. "I know exactly what you mean," she said. That night, Emily stood on Liam's balcony, watching the city breathe. He stepped beside her. She turned to him. "I'm staying," she said. His eyes flickered. "For a week. For good," she answered, then smiled. "But I have conditions." He laughed. "Of course you do. I want a program under Nova for underprivileged writers," she said. "Workshops, mentorships, translations." "Done." "I want 3 days a month back in Boston to check on the window seat." "I'll fly with you." "And I want you to stop pretending you're not still scared." Liam's face softened. "I'm terrified," he said, "every day." She reached for his hand. "So, am I?" she whispered. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But as they stood side by side, wind curling around them, eyes fixed on a horizon they now shared, there was no need. Because love, real love, isn't always about beginnings. Sometimes it's about returning and building again, together. 2 months into her new life at Nova, Emily finally stopped waking up disoriented. She had her own office now, some light pouring in through tall windows, corkboards full of ideas, and a perpetual cup of jasmine tea on her desk. Her program, Voice to Page, had already sponsored its first group of teen writers. They called themselves the Paper Lanterns. She called them her purpose. Liam was everywhere, sometimes in the boardroom, sometimes on the floor with engineers, sometimes just standing beside her during meetings, hand lightly on her back, silent but steady. They hadn't said "I love you" since she arrived. But every look, every brush of hands, every late-night walk home through the city said it louder. Things were, somehow, finally steady. Which, of course, meant something was about to break. The email hit the press on a Thursday morning. Emily's phone buzzed incessantly as she walked into work. She ignored the first few, then saw the subject line on her screen. Exclusive, the secret behind Nova's founding funds. She stopped cold on the sidewalk, tapping the link. The article was brutal. A detailed expose claiming that Liam had used insider funds from his exit at Carter Techmany. He had allegedly funneled through shell company Stowe's seed and OVA's first round. It included screenshots, leaked emails, quotes from anonymous sources, and then her name. Sources close to the CEO say his current partner, Emily Walsh, was unaware of the financial manipulation. Walsh, formerly homeless and now heading an OVA's literacy division, has yet to comment. Emily's legs went numb. The world around her blurred. She ran the rest of the block to Nova. The building was chaos. Security guards stationed at the doors, reporters outside, Staff clustered in tight huddles, whispering. Emily made it to her office just as Liam was coming down the hall, flanked by legal counsel. He saw her, paused. "Emily, is it true?" she asked, voice flat. He didn't lie, didn't flinch. "Yes." Her heart sank. "I thought you left the world behind," she whispered. "I did," he said, "but not before I made some very bad decisions." He stepped closer. "I wasn't laundering money, Emily. I wasn't stealing. But I did structure the seed funding in a way that would avoid press, avoid scrutiny. I didn't want anyone to question the mission because of me." She stared at him. "You build this on secrets." He said nothing. "Do you even know who you are without all the hiding?" His jaw tightened. "I'm someone trying to make up for the man I used to be." She backed away. "I need space. Emily, please." And he let her go. For the first time in months, she couldn't breathe. Her trust, hard-won and delicate, was cracking, not because Liam was cruel, but because he had kept part of himself in the shadows while asking her to walk in the light. She sat in her office for hours, ignoring texts, calls. At dusk, a knock came. Not Liam. Paul Whitman, the same man who'd once delivered her ticket to San Francisco. He closed the door behind him. "He's not sleeping," Paul said. "Hasn't since the story broke. I don't need updates on his conscience," Emily said. Paul nodded, then slid a folder across her desk. "What's this?" "Everything," he said. "The real records, the financials, the emails, the deals. We thought you deserved to see the truth without the spin." She opened it, page after page, and saw it clearly. Liam hadn't stolen. He'd used legal but ethically gray methods to isolate funding from his name, to protect Nova's mission from his own reputation. Risky, reckless, but not malicious. Still, it wasn't the paperwork that broke her. It was a handwritten letter, tucked at the back. To her, "Emily, if you're reading this, it means everything I feared has happened. I made mistakes trying to keep you safe from the wreckage of my past. I forgot that real love isn't built on protecting someone from the truth but walking them through it. I'm sorry. Whatever happens next, this part won't change. I built Nova for the world, but I built the library for you, Elle." She wept, quietly, then got up. The press conference was the next morning, a room packed with cameras and questions. Liam stood at the podium, hair unkempt, voice steady. "Yes. I used private channels to fund NOVA's early days. I did it to shield the mission from my past. But I should have trusted the world and her with the truth." Reporters leaned forward. "And I'll resign today if that's what's needed to preserve what we built." Gasps, flashbulbs. Emily stepped onto the stage, walked straight to the mic, and said, "He's not going anywhere." The room exploded. Liam stared at her, stunned. She raised her voice. "This man made a mistake, but he didn't build Nova for himself. He built it for all of us. He used his second chance to give thousands of people their first." She turned to him. "You don't walk away from that. You lead better. From here." Liam's eyes shimmered. The room fell into respectful silence. Then applause. Later, on the rooftop, he found her staring at the city again. "I thought I lost you," he said. "You almost did," she replied. "But you came back." She looked at him. "Only because you told the truth." He stepped closer. "What happens now?" She exhaled. "We lead, side by side. No shadows, no secrets." He nodded. "I'm in." Then she smiled. "Also, I'm taking half your office." He laughed, relief flooding his face. "Fine," he said, "but I get to pick the tea." That night, they sat together in the library. 2 mugs, 1 blanket, a future rewritten. Sometimes, it isn't love that saves you. It's honesty, and the courage to keep showing up. Spring crept back into San Francisco with a shy kind of beauty. The trees along Market Street turned soft with new green. Street musicians returned to corners that had gone silent all winter. And inside Nova, everything seemed to breathe easier. The storm had passed. The media frenzy faded. Nova's board reaffirmed their faith in Liam's leadership. Donors rallied. and Emily stepped into her role with a fierceness that surprised even herself. But just as the dust settled, a new shadow arrived, in the form of a name Emily hadn't heard in over a year: Victoria Carlisle. It started as a rumor, whispers in the elevator, a new investor taking meetings with Nova's board, a familiar last name mentioned in a lunchroom whisper. Then came the calendar notice: investor strategy meeting, attendees, Emily Walsh, Liam Carter, board members. Guest, Victoria Carlisle, VC partner, Lucent Equity. Emily froze. Victoria, Liam's ex-fiancée, the woman who once stood beside him at billion-dollar galas, who left him the night before their wedding to elope with his business rival, who now, it seemed, wanted a piece of Nova. She walked into the meeting like nothing had ever happened. Tall, immaculate, with a smile that could slice glass. "Emily Walsh," she said, extending her hand. "We finally meet." Emily stood slowly, shook it. "Victoria." Liam kept his expression unreadable. Victoria turned to the board. "Lucent Equity is interested in expanding our humanitarian investments. Nova has global reach, a solid mission, and a compelling leadership team." Her eyes flicked to Liam. "I'd like to help you scale." After the meeting, Emily cornered Liam in the hallway. "You knew she was coming." "She's not here for me," he said. "She's here for control." Emily crossed her arms. "Are you sure about that?" Liam hesitated. "I don't trust her either," he finally said. "But we don't get to shut the door just because it's uncomfortable. She left you humiliated, Liam. She hurt you." "I survived," he said. "But Nova might not, if we lose funding now." Emily stepped back. "This is more than money," she whispered. "This is our life." The next week, Emily found herself standing beside Victoria more often than she liked. At donor dinners, at board strategy calls, at press events where the blonde VC draped herself in charm and perfectly practiced empathy. To the world, they were to women fighting for the same mission. Behind closed doors, they were something else entirely. "I have to say," Victoria murmured once, as they watched Liam speak at a fundraiser, "he was never this passionate when we were together." Emily didn't respond. Victoria smiled. "You must bring something out of him." "Truth," Emily said simply. "Something you ran from." Victoria tilted her head. "Oh, honey, I didn't run. I just saw what was coming." Emily's voice sharpened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You'll see." That night, Liam and Emily sat on the rooftop again. "I don't want her here," Emily admitted. "She rattles everything." "I know," he said. "But she has influence we need, at least for now." Emily's eyes were heavy. "She hasn't changed, Liam. She'll twist this." He didn't argue, but he didn't promise anything either, and that silence stung. 2 days later, Victoria made her move. At a closed-door board session, she proposed a structural change, a new advisory panel with oversight power including the seats for Lucent Equity. Emily's program would fall under their jurisdiction. Liam would no longer have unilateral budget control. It was brilliant, legal, and poison. When Emily read the draft proposal, her hands shook. "She's gutting you," she told Liam, "and you're letting her." "She's stabilizing the company," he replied, in her own way. "You're scared," Emily whispered, "not of her but of losing what you've built." Liam looked away. "She's not trying to help," Emily said. "She's trying to finish what she started doing though you." The next morning, Emily made her decision. She walked into the next strategy session with a folder, passed out copies to the board. Inside, an alternative plan, one that restructured NOVA's funding sources, shifted power to grassroots supporters, created a donor match system that eliminated dependence on equity firms. Less money, more independence, more integrity. "This company was built on values," she said. "We either stand by them or sell them to someone who knows how to manipulate spreadsheets." And old wounds. The room was quiet. Then someone clapped. Then another. And another. Liam stood last. "I support Emily's plan," he said, fully. Victoria smiled tightly and walked out. That night, Emily found Liam sitting alone in the library room. "Are you okay?" she asked. He nodded. I should have seen it sooner. She didn't want Nova. She wanted leverage. Emily sat beside him. She wanted you, she said softly, and to prove she could still get under your skin. Liam looked at her. She didn't. Emily smiled faintly. No, she tried to make me feel small, he said. But then I'd walk into your office and see 10 kids writing poems about the future. And remember why I'm here. She leaned against him. You chose right, she said. No, he whispered, kissing her hair. I chose you. Later that night, they updated the plaque outside the library room. The old one read, "The window seat, a quiet place for stories." The new one said, "Built on truth, held by courage, shared with the one who never left." And beneath it, L&E. It started with a nosebleed, just a small one. On a Thursday morning, Emily dabbed it with a tissue behind the cafe station in NOVA's library room and laughed it off. Too much late-night editing, she joked to Liam. My brain's revolting. But the next week, it happened again, and this time, she felt dizzy afterward, the third time. She passed out in the hallway outside the literacy lab. Liam was by her side in seconds. Emily, stay with me. She blinked up at his face, pale with fear, blurred through the tunnel of spinning lights. I think, she mumbled, something's wrong. The hospital was quiet. Stark white walls, distant beeps, the scent of antiseptic and something sharper dread. Emily lay in the bed, for in her arm, Liam holding her hand tightly as the doctor walked in. He was kind-eyed, calm. Miss Walsh, he began, your blood work came back. There are some irregularities we need to investigate further. Liam straightened. Your white blood cell count is abnormally high, and some of the markers they suggest the possibility of leukemia. Time shattered like glass. Emily's breath caught. No, that can't be right. I'm healthy. I eat kale now. The doctor offered a soft smile. It's not a diagnosis yet, but we need to run a bone marrow biopsy to confirm. She looked at Liam and saw him cracked open, shattered behind the eyes. The days that followed were fog. Tests, more blood work, CT scans, biopsies. Liam never left her side. He slept in chairs, read her favorite poetry aloud, made jokes that didn't land. But he never stopped showing up. When the results came in, the world quieted. It's early stage, the oncologist said. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia, but treatable, especially if we begin immediately. Emily sat very still. What does that mean for my life? It means a fight, he said gently, but one you can win. Liam reached for her hand, but she pulled away, because something in her had already begun to retreat. I can't do this to you, she told him that night in the hospital room. He looked at her. What are you talking about? You've rebuilt everything, Nova. Your name, your peace, and now this, me. Sick again. You're not a burden, Emily. I'm broken. You're human. She shook her head. I've spent my whole life clawing out of holeless poverty, grief, loneliness, and I finally found air, Liam. I finally breathed. And now it's like life is punishing me for daring to feel okay. He came closer. No, Em. This isn't punishment. It's just life. And we'll meet it. Like we always have. I don't want you to watch me get sick. Too late, he whispered. I'm already here. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm scared, she said. He wrapped his arms around her. So am I, but I'd rather be scared with you than brave without you. Treatment began the next week. Chemo sessions, nausea, hair loss, bone pain. Emily tried to joke about it, but the weight of fatigue was a cruel kind of silence. Some days, she couldn't make it out of bed, but Liam was there. He set up a reading station in their apartment, recorded voice memos from the paper lanterns. He even shaved his head to match hers. You look like a weird monk, she said one night. He grinned, a very devoted one, and she laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. But not everything stayed warm. There were nights Emily pushed him away, not out of anger but out of shame. I don't want you to remember me like this, she'd whisper. He'd hold her hand anyway. "I remember you at 17, he'd say, in that green coat, cold, brilliant, fierce. She'd close her eyes. "And now?" she asked. "You're all of that," he said, "and more." One night, as she lay in bed, bald and aching and too tired to speak, Liam placed a small box in her lap. She looked at him, confused. "It's not what you think," he said. Inside was a necklace, a single gold pendant, etched with the word, "Still." "Still brave," he said. "Still beautiful, still yours. Always." Tears fell without sound. "I don't have anything to give you back," she whispered. "You gave me everything," he replied. On a rare good day, she visited the window seat in Boston. She wore a headscarf and oversized sunglasses, but it didn't matter. People knew. They didn't pity her. They welcomed her with letters, candles, a mural on the back wall with her face and the words, "You taught us to speak, now we speak for you." She broke down crying in aisle 3, and Liam held her in the poetry section. Back in San Francisco, she finished a letter she'd started months before. To herself, to the version of Emily who once lived in the back of her car, who once believed she was destined for invisibility. "Dear me, you were never meant to disappear. You were meant to grow, even in the cracks, especially in them." She signed it, folded it, placed it in the Nova library, behind her favorite book. Then she turned to Liam. "I'm not done yet," she said. He smiled, eyes glistening. "I never thought you were." Summer returned like a secret whispered softly back into the world. The air in San Francisco was warm again, touched by ocean breeze. Bougainvillea bloomed along balconies, and at the top floor of Nova, in the heart of the building that had once only been Liam's dream, laughter echoed in the corridors again. Emily was winning. The latest round of chemo had ended. Her blood work showed progress. Her energy had returned not all at once, but in flickers. In mornings she didn't wake up exhausted. In afternoons when she sat on the library floor with a dozen kids, helping them craft poems from magazine clippings and hope, she had her voice back, and that meant everything. One morning, Liam took her hand and led her somewhere she hadn't been in months. "Where are we going?" she asked, squinting against the sun. "You'll see." They arrived at a small rooftop above the Mission District. New planters had been installed. Wooden benches, a swing made of repurposed scaffolding. In the middle stood a podium with a sign, "Voice to Page, Writers Rising Showcase." It was her program's first public exhibition. 30 students, parents, mentors, even some of Nova's board members had shown up. Liam looked at her, smiling. "This is yours." Tears pricked her eyes. "I thought this was on hold." "I held it," he said, "until you were ready to come back." She took the stage with shaking hands, but not because of fear, because of fullness. The crowd went silent. Emily breathed deep. "My name is Emily Walsh," she began. "I grew up on the edges of a story no one expected to read. Homeless, forgotten, angry, and more than anything lonely." She paused, but then someone's appeal believed in me, not because I earned it, but because they saw something before I could. She looked at Liam, because they stayed. She turned back to the students. "This showcase isn't about the words you've written. It's about the lives you survived, the truths you dared to tell." She held up one of their handmade journals. "This is proof that you matter, that your story matters, that your voice was never too quiet, it just hadn't been heard yet." Applause roared. She stepped back and let them rise. Later, as the sun dipped low and the event dissolved into hugs and photo booths and chocolate cupcakes, Emily sat on the rooftop swing, watching it all. Liam approached, 2 mugs of tea in hand. "Cinnamon and honey," he said. "You remembered. I never forget the small things." He handed her the mug, and then knelt, not with a ring, but with a question. "Will you keep building with me?" She looked down at him. Tears welled, not because of fear, but because she knew the answer already. "I never stopped." They didn't plan a wedding right away. They didn't need to. Their life was already filled with vows, quiet, daily ones. Brushing teeth side by side, carrying each other's coats, editing chapters late into the night, sharing pain, sharing triumph, staying. Sometimes, love didn't need spectacle. It just needed presence. One quiet evening, long after the last chemo cycle, Emily returned to the window seat in Boston. The mural of her face was still there. So were the paper lanterns photos, taped along the shelves. She walked to aisle 3 of poetry section and sat cross-legged on the floor. She pulled a pen from her coat pocket, opened a fresh notebook, and wrote, Chapter 1. There was once a girl who thought she'd never be enough. But then one day, she looked into the eyes of someone who saw everything she was, and she believed. Outside, the sky was fading into twilight. She stood, notebook in hand, and walked back toward the door. A man waited for her there, holding 2 cups of terrible coffee and wearing the same look he always did around her late. He still couldn't believe she was real. You ready? Liam asked. Emily smiled. For what? For the rest of it. She stepped into the street, the lights blinking on one by one, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she was chasing the world. She was walking beside it. Home.